Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Would you like even more content? Here's my Patreon. Now onto the stories. Case file number 988, written by Straightforshady. I spent 4 years living in an alternate universe. I think I know what happened, but there are some things I can't explain well. I have several vivid early memories up to age 6 of myself in my current life. They track exactly with what my family remembers and with pictures and timelines, etc. Around the age of 5, I began having terrifying nightmares that I couldn't wake up from and didn't know weren't real. I would go days thinking that my nightmares were real. I still have nightmares and night terrors like this where I wake up screaming, with scratches, bruises, and feeling deeply disturbed. When I was 6, my 2 best friends moved away, and that is my last real memory, before I fell asleep and woke up when I was 10. The alternate life and reality are very similar, but there were enough differences and scattered memories that it noticeably doesn't match up. I remember things that reportedly never happened to me, and I have no recollection of things that did. For example, I remember a situation where I watched the neighbor's kids for 30 minutes when I was 8. When I woke up, 4 years had passed. The kids were the same age, and I didn't babysit them for the first time for 30 minutes until I was 11. When I was 11, I knew exactly what was going to happen during those 30 minutes because I knew already that I had already done it. It was like what I had previously experienced came true 4 years later. I've kept journals since I could write, and I remember writing, "Yesterday was 2005, now it is 2006, about my New Year's Eve. What I remember happening was going to the plains and watching fireworks. I did write the first sentence, but in the physical diary, I didn't say what we did. When I asked my mom, it turned out we were in our neighborhood that year." We have pictures of my sister and me at 2 kids' exhibits in Niagara Falls on the same day. I remember one, which was a glass factory. We have pictures of another, which I think was a science factory. I remember the outfit because I thought it was really pretty, but not the event. It doesn't even seem familiar when I look at the pictures. Like the kid in them is me, but it isn't how I remember myself during those years. It's just a little off. I know it's normal for kids to forget things, but 15 years later, I still don't recognize myself or anything in it. It was like I fell asleep, lived for 4 years, went back to sleep during those 4 years, and woke up in another alternate life. It really shook me up and felt like I was seeing the world in a different filter. Colors were slightly different, people looked a bit different. I felt shorter than in my dream, and I felt emotions differently. They were much, much stronger. My personality changed completely. I became more withdrawn, aloof, depressed. I had panic attacks all the time and would get overstimulated by seemingly small things. I've been that way ever since. Weirdly enough, my mom says the same thing. Around the time I was 10, my personality changed a lot. Personalities and a sense of identity don't really develop until around that age, so it's entirely possible my personality was mainly a mix of what I saw and what I imagined, and that's why I was so different after those 4 years. As an adult, I've been diagnosed with several mental illnesses, including bipolar with psychosis and borderline personality disorder, both of which can feature symptoms of dissociation, depersonalization, and derealization. I do not have a dissociative disorder, so I'm pretty sure all of this was the beginning of my psychosis and dissociation, related to the other disorders that I would experience for the majority of my life. That really doesn't make it any less weird to me. Case notes for file 988. I spent 4 years living in an alternate universe. Honestly, I think most people would probably just brush this off because of your mental diagnoses, but I think there's more to it than that. In fact, I think your diagnoses, these disorders, aren't the cause, they're just symptoms of your mind not adapting properly to quantum shifts in your consciousness. And this is something I've wondered for quite a while. Does the blending of a soul into a new host in a new universe, quantum immortality, does that always go over smoothly? Are there never any hiccups, any rejections from the host body? We know that physically, if you have to get a transplant from an organ, say you lose your liver or any other organ really, even blood I think, the body will often reject that new organ because it sees it as foreign, and it is. Now, the closer you are genetically, so a family connection is important. If it's a twin, there's almost no rejection there, but even then, often there is some. You have to take anti-rejection drugs. And I think in that same sense, even though we're switching to a copy of ourselves, there still are bound to be some differences. Perhaps depending on how great the differences are, the soul will reject the blending, or at least may not be able to properly fuse together. And this could lead to disassociation and other mental illnesses. So maybe we've been diagnosing symptoms of quantum immortality going awry. Just a thought.
Creepy file number 79, written by Shot Material 509. A dog-like monster stalks me. All my life, I've been followed by a black and white dog. I'm always with someone else when I see it. Either I see it as black and they see it as white, or vice versa. It disappears in plain sight, no kidding. It vanishes in thin air, and I'm never alone when I see it. It's very scrawny and bony looking, but very tall and walks more like a deer than a dog. It sounds weird to say, but the way it places its legs when walking is more deer or goat-like than canine-like. Once I saw it while I was hunting. When I tried to shoot it, my gun clicked into safety mode. These experiences continue to get more unnerving as the last time I heard it was inside my house, and I believe it was inside my house with me. I'm thankful my family knows I'm not crazy because they've seen the same damn thing. Even a cop saw it when I was walking back home. He walked up to it with his gun drawn and it vanished in plain sight again. Is this common? I can't find anyone else who said something similar happened to them. I have so many more sightings and experiences with this entity, but not enough space in one post to describe them all. It's almost endless.
Case notes for the creepy file number 79. A dog-like monster stalks me. So whenever there are creepy monsters that are described in a story or an experience, like the one where the person was driving along and they encountered a kind of tall beast-like monster that had manifested fog or was within fog, whenever anything like that happens, or in this case where it's a dog-like monster that can vanish, I often wonder if it's a corporeal being. Is it an actual monster, just something we've never seen before, that inhabits a new species of animal? In this case, because it can vanish, it makes me think that it's some entity that's playing with your mind, maybe a spirit in this case, something that wants to terrify you and make you feel uneasy in general, but isn't real in the physical sense, very real in the energy sense. And given you were never attacked, it may not necessarily be malicious or like outright demonic evil, but just wanting to terrify you. So I guess still evil, but not as evil as it can get.
Bonus file, written by Repulsive Ad 1163. Pointed horror. This morning I woke up around 5 a.m. I do my laundry at a laundromat, so I decided to gather my soiled linens and make my way over to the place. I washed them and then put them in a dryer. Now, for a little more information, I was the only person at the laundromat. It's almost 6 a.m. at this point, and I have my headphones in, listening to music. I stand up and walk over to the top-loading washing machines to see how much they run for, because I normally use a pricier washing machine. Again, I'm listening to music, AirPods in, full blast. As I'm reaching for the lid to the top loader, I hear a very loud and menacing, "Hey!" I jump out of my skin, rip my AirPods out, and turn around to see a very tall, heavy man in a black coat pointing directly at me. I saw him for not even a second, and then he evaporated. He sounded angry, and the energy in the room was suffocating. I felt my heart beating in my ears, wanting to run out of there, but I didn't want to leave my clothes behind. I called my wife and told her everything, shaking within my tone. Needless to say, I folded my clothes very quickly. I don't think I'll be going back there by myself anytime soon.
Case notes for the bonus file. Pointed horror. So people will often say that having headphones on or earbuds when you're in public is dangerous and risky. And yeah, to an extent it is. You're less aware of your surroundings, you're not able to hear footsteps and so on. So did this man just sneak up on you? Maybe, but then of course, how did he just vanish? That's not explainable by any mundane scenario. And I do say, it's rather a sad reflection on society itself. I guess it depends where you live, of course. I think if you live in New Hampshire, in a rural town, it's much less likely to be dangerous. New Hampshire is the second lowest crime of violent and non-violent crime, so pretty safe there. But even then, it depends on the town and the environment. Know your environment is probably the best advice to give there. But yeah, if you live in downtown Detroit and at midnight, maybe don't wear headphones if you're going out, or just don't go out at night. Know your environment. But towards the fact that this is definitely supernatural, the man just completely evaporated. Was it a warning? Maybe he wanted you to be more safe and not wear headphones all the time? It's conceivable. I think if a lot of spirits are around, most aren't evil, and most would probably want us to be safe. Type of a spiritual guardian angel, you could say. I'll chalk it up to the positive side there. And now time for the story of the day. An old man lived in the village. He was one of the most unfortunate people in the world. The whole village was tired of him. He was always gloomy. He constantly complained and was always in a bad mood. The longer he lived, the more bile he was becoming, and the more poisonous were his words. People avoided him because his misfortune became contagious. It was even unnatural and insulting to be happy next to him. He created the feeling of unhappiness in others. But one day, when he turned 80 years old, an incredible thing happened. Instantly, everyone started hearing the rumor. The old man is happy today. He doesn't complain about anything, smiles, and even his face is freshened up. The whole village gathered together. The old man was asked, "What happened to you?" "Nothing special. 80 years I've been chasing happiness, and it was useless. And then I decided to live without happiness, and just enjoy life. That's why I'm happy now." So the moral of this story is, don't chase happiness. Just be happy. Attune your mind to enjoy the silver linings of whatever situation you're in. Because life probably could get worse, and it can get better. So strive for the best. But enjoy where you're at now, if at all possible.